To solve the following equation, we're going to start by moving all the terms to the same side. In this case, it's going to be the left-hand side. So we're going to get 2x squared minus 6x plus 3 equals to 0. And now we have two options here in terms of how we would solve this. One option would be to try and factor this. This is a trinomial, and in order to factor this by using the method of decomposition, we would be looking for two numbers that sum to, whose sum is -6, and whose product would be 2 times 3, so 6. And it turns out there are no such two numbers. We cannot factor this trinomial, which means that we cannot solve it by factoring. We would need to solve this by using the quadratic formula. Okay? The quadratic formula looks as follows. X equals negative b plus minus b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. The a, b, c's are numerical constants and numerical coefficients, where a, in this case, will be 2. It's the numerical coefficient in front of the x squared term. That's your a. The b is the numerical coefficient in front of the x term, which in this case is -6. And the c is the numerical constant. So all we have to do here is plug in those numbers into the quadratic formula. We have negative b in the quadratic formula, but b, the numerical constant coefficient b, is negative, so it's actually going to be negative brackets -6. And then we square -6 minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 3, divided by 2 times a, 2 times 2. Negative times negative is positive, so we just get +6. If we evaluate the radicand, so this expression right here, that's under the radical symbol, -6 squared is 36. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 36 minus 24 is 12. So it's square root of 12 divided by 4. Now, at this point, we want to be careful here. We could take the square root of 12, but 12 is not a perfect square. So the minute we take the square root of 12, we are going to get an irrational number. The question doesn't specify if we should answer as a decimal or as an exact number. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to keep this as an exact value, which means I'm not going to take the square root of 12. Instead, I'm going to simplify the radical here into the simplest mixed radical form. We can factor out a 4 from 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 is a perfect square. Square root of 4 is 2. So we're going to be left with 2 times square root of 3 divided by 4. And then in terms of the expression that we have here in the numerator, we have two terms, and we are able to factor out a 2 here. So I can factor out a 2 from 6 and a 2 from 2. So if I factor out a 2 from 6, I'm left with 3 times 3 plus minus square root of 3 divided by 4. I can cancel that 2 against the 4. I'm left with a 2 in the denominator. So now I have 3 plus minus square root of 3 left in the numerator and a 2 in the denominator. This would be our final answer. The two roots would be 3 plus square root of 3 divided by 2, and the second root would be 3 minus square root of 3 divided by 2. At this point, if you want to answer in decimal form, you could just run this through the calculator, get the two decimal roots, but it is always preferable to work in the exact form, not taking the square root of a non-perfect square number. It's always preferable to work in the exact form, and then you can always get the approximate roots by just running it through the calculator, as opposed to over here taking the square root of 12, getting an irrational number, and then working with decimals the whole way, and then you can't sort of go back to the exact form.